a traumatic past is nothing more than an experience that is missing a last chapter. And I find over and over again, I've been very privileged to work with amazing athletes, amazing head coaches, amazing performers, artists. I can't think of one, Sonny, truthfully, that didn't suffer a trauma and that isn't using their trauma. So it's very paradoxical that we think of a trauma as something to be ashamed of, something that holds us hostage, whereas in fact, it can be converted into something that gives us our raison d'etre. Like it is the source of passion.
Welcome to Evoke Greatness, the podcast for bold leaders and big dreamers who refuse to settle. I'm your host, Sunny, CEO, entrepreneur, and someone who's spent over 20 years building, leading, and learning what it really takes to rise. Every step of that journey has taught me something worth passing on. Lessons in business, leadership, resilience, and the psychology behind it all. Here, you'll hear raw conversations, unfiltered truths, and the kind of wisdom that ignites something deeper in you, your courage, your conviction, and your calling. This show will help you think bigger, lead better, and show up bolder in every part of your life and business. This is your place to grow. Let's rise together. When we think about peak performance, I think about athletes and you see visualization. And I think it's common today to see a lot of videos or highlight these areas where people really are going more into the neuroscience of what makes someone a high performer, what makes someone get to their peak performance. And so I love that we're actually getting to the realistic terms, that it's actually a measurement of electricity versus a word that we have come up with that sounds kind of cool to describe an actual measurement of electricity. So I love that people are getting educated on this piece, myself as well. I'm curious, because you have studied this so deeply, is peak performance about talent? Is it about brainwave management? Is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, what a great question. That's a really, really good question. Okay. So, I find, so let's go to the highest levels. When I go to the very highest levels of athletes in multiple sports, I find that at that level, so I'm a professional athlete or a professional head coach, at that level, the difference in talent between 99% of the athletes is very nominal. And in every sport, there might be 1, 2, at the most 5, really, that are truly uniquely talented. I mean, they're bigger somehow, they're faster somehow, and they can do things nobody else. But that number is really, 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 really small. So I don't think that at that level, it is skill. Matter of fact, I know it's not. The folks at that highest level that are able to, again, manifest their skills at the key moments that matter. So I've been lucky enough to watch great athletes, professional players, athletes, and teams while they're practicing. While they're practicing, almost every athlete looks like they're the best athlete in the world. You put them in a game time situation and suddenly there's a marked difference. The guy that made all the shots in practice suddenly is missing shots when the game counts. So the difference is, I view sort of high performance as bringing out the best version of yourself, like manifesting what you already know how to do. Here's the key, Sonny, at moments that matter. It's not skill, it's skill at the moments that matter. That makes it entirely cognitive. Because a moment that matters only exists in your brain. There's no other place in the universe where that moment matters. Like right now, as you and I are talking, the NCAA March Madness is going on. We're not a part of it. That's not our moment. That's their moment. So it's not a moment, you know what I mean? It's the moment that means the most to us. So I find that the highest form of human intelligence is to know where your brain is. And if you know where your brain is on that scale from 1 to 100, and you may not call it 100, you may just say, am I focused or am I not? You may use terms like, am I committed to this shot or not? You may use other terms. But as a neuroscience, I will say, do you know the difference of whether you're at 10 or 20? Because if you're at 20 hertz, the amount of work that you have to do to get to 10 is relatively less than if you're at 80 hertz. So the awareness that this is where my brain is, one, then based on that self-awareness, here's the level of adjustment that I have to make to get back towards 10 hertz. In every human experience, that to me is the highest form of intelligence. And I find that great athletes have an awareness of their brain and are able to get to whatever they call 10 hertz. They might call it flow, they might call it in the moment, they might call it committed. These are labels, right? But what they're really saying is, can I get myself maybe not to 10, but towards 10? Like as I'm taking this shot, can I really look at the basket and look around the rim and find different points on the rim where I want the ball to go? Or am I looking at the basket and thinking, don't leave it short? Or if I miss it, everyone's going to laugh. I've measured those brains. When you think don't leave it short, you're at 60, 70 hertz. Because think of where the word don't comes from. It comes from this, again, trauma, this memory of when I left it short, like the last time, maybe a few games ago, the fans booed me, my coach yelled at me afterwards. Boom, I'm retrieving the wrong inventory. But when I amplify sensory input, I see different spots on the brain. I feel the basketball in my hands. I can feel the tension in my hand. Is it tight? Is it loose? Is it just right? That's sensory input. So I think every human being, or I don't think I know, every human being could be the best version of themselves if they simply learned how their brain works.
So I think you may have just described it, but you think about in that moment when someone, let's say, chokes in a high stakes moment, they are aiming for that 3-point. And if I understand it correctly, what you're saying is what's happening in their brain when they are missing that is they're going to those moments, those memories, the trauma. That's what they're accessing at that very moment. And so if their electrical measurement is higher, they're allowing more of that noise to come in, more of those memories around the don'ts, the negativities, the shadowing of that impact those really important shots. They're not silencing out that noise, closing in, kind of narrowing in at that 10-ish measurement to say, I have everything it takes to make that shot.
Yeah. So you are bringing back such a good, fond memory and aha moment. So thank you, first of all, for that. But like I said, I have measured the brain in the seconds and up to a minute or two before. So we call it a spike. When I see a spike, so a spike is up and down, it's called a surge. When I see a spike, the closer that spike is to the moment that I want to initiate a motor movement, like kicking a ball, throwing a football, making a putt, whatever it is, whatever sport I play. If I see a spike, I don't always know what memory is being retrieved, but I'll record it. So for example, golf is very easy. I work with a lot of golfers and I'll have them putt. And if I see a spike, the odds that they're going to miss the putt suddenly go up. And I've measured them now. And so I will show them the video and say, hey, like 8 seconds before you started your backstroke, there was a spike. And they was like, no, I was calm. I was focused. I was like, no, bro, look. Like, yeah, like I thought about one that I missed a few holes ago. There you go. So it doesn't always have to be, I find that with athletes, it's the most recent. And it doesn't have to be big trauma, but just, so I call it micro trauma, like not like what I went through in my childhood. So that's big trauma. But we all have these micro traumas, So for example, if I'm a tennis player and I'm serving and the last serve that I just hit, I completely blocked it. I mean, I missed my target by 5 feet. I promise you the next time I'm trying to hit that serve or that type of a shot, my brain is going to go retrieve not just all of the millions of times that I hit a good serve, but the most recent negative one because it's doing its job. It wants to protect me. So I help athletes build their own awareness. I help them understand that if this thought comes into my head, I'm not a bad person. I'm not flawed. That's just the frequency of this thought. Now, what can I do? In those moments, I invented these things called neurohacks. which is a way to spike down the spike. And so if you think about it, us regular human beings, we do lots of things to spike down the overall spike in our brains. We cook, we watch a movie, we go for a walk, we walk out, we go on vacation. What are these things? These are things that we're doing to amplify sensory input. We're doing this, we call it in lay terms, to reduce stress. Now, stress, again, I know you'll probably want to throw something at me at this point. Stress is not a real thing. So we're using all these terms, but there's no human gland or neurotransmitter or organ called stress. It is a term that we made up. Now, I understand why we made it up, but it's still a term that we made up. It's not real. Stress is just a surge of electricity, meaning this moment, my brain is working very hard for this moment. So if you simplify what the human experience, what we're experiencing in terms of electricity, I think that's simple. If I just say, okay, I just surged or I just spiked, well, the answer is, well, spike down. And how much of a surge was it? Am I 5 minutes late for a meeting or am I an hour late for a meeting? The surge of those two experiences is very different. If I'm 5 minutes late, I might spike up by 10, 15 hertz. If I'm an hour late for a job interview, I might be at 100 hertz because I'm like, there goes my job interview kind of thing. These are very different types of things. That's why I will tell you, in my opinion, for performance or the highest form of human intelligence, in my view, is not the knowledge that you have. Of what value is the knowledge that you have if you can't access it at the moments that matter? Of what value is all this practice time that you spend if at the moment that you need to hit that shot or use a certain technique, you can't access it? I have so many amazing head coaches and athletes that I work with. Truthfully, Sunny, they're hard workers. They really are. I run into a few lazy ones, but not a lot. Most professional athletes work their tail ends off. But when the game matters, it's almost like they never hit a shot ever in their life. They make such bad decisions. Again, it's an access issue. And if you frame it as an access issue, it's, I think, simpler. Right? It's not a mystery. If in the confidence, like I said earlier, Sunny, is in the moment, I'm accessing the right inventory. I'm accessing all the good shots that I hit, all the books that I read, the training that I went through, the people that I talked to, because it's all there. We have this vast inventory of human experiences. Again, some are negative, but the overwhelming majority of our human experiences are useful to us. How many good conversations have our moms and dads had with us? How many good conversations and lessons have we learned from our friends, from our siblings, from our neighbors, in books that we read? We have enough inventory to navigate life. Only if we can access it when? At the moment that matters. And that's an easier ask of self. So greatness is not a mystery. It's at the moment that matters. Can I do something to know where my brain is and make an adjustment to get towards 10? I think that's easier than using things like Zen and flow and mindfulness. And these are all, I give honor genuinely to the knowledge that people that have come before me have harnessed to help us all. The person that came up with flow was not a bad person, but that was his understanding, his way of making sense what was going on. But we have technology now. We can actually look into this mystery of the brain, which is cage. The brain is the most protected organ in the entire human body. It's in a skull. And it's not like the heart where I can cut it open and look at it and cut it back up. If I cut open the brain, I'm going to paralyze you or kill you. But we now have access to it. We now can understand the human experience. We can decipher it. And Sunny, I'm telling you and your audience, it ain't a mystery. It ain't a mystery. Get to 10 hertz in moments that matter, and you will have a very rich human experience no matter what happens to you. Your brain will figure out what to do next.
Is it safe to say then that in those moments, I think about anyone's big moment, right? That may be presenting at your board for those listening. It may be this big board meeting where you've got investors there. It could be your keynote that you're doing and you're on stage in front of all of these people. And in that moment, what I understand you saying is to gain access to the right lived experiences that allow you to serve in that moment at that measurement of that 10 hertz. Is that visualization
No,
so let's tie those things together, because I think about it, and oftentimes we hear a lot about visualization, but what in that moment, when you talk about neurohacks, what in that moment are we doing to gain access to the right lived experiences at the right time?
correct. So it's not just moments that we can predict. So all the moments that you gave, they're predictable. I'm going to speak. I'm going to have a board meeting. I have to make a decision about some strategy or some plan. But let's go into the board meeting. And in my presentation or in the board meeting, someone just says something completely off color. Now I've spiked. So they are these predictable as well as unpredictable moments. Both of us can spike us. And in both cases, I need to have tools that are short that I can get spike down the surge of electricity because suddenly, because of this off color comment, making my brain go higher. So let's do some neurohacks. I'm going to do 2 with you, and your audience can kind of follow along. So the first one is called 10-10. Now, Sunny, I don't want you to start doing it until I say go very loudly, because I need to explain to you. So don't start doing it. Just kind of hear me out first. So when I say go very loudly, which is not now, in your own mind, so not out loud to me, but in your own mind, and your audience can follow along. Again, please, none of you should start doing this until I say go very loudly, which is not now. But when I say go very loudly, again, which is not now, I want you to count from 1 to 10 in your own mind as fast as you possibly can. Or don't jumble it up. Say the numbers, but say the numbers as fast as you can, all the way to 10, from 1 to 10. Well, literally, the second that you get to 10, go back towards 1, the opposite. Go from 10 back to 1, literally as slow as you can. Take your time, right? When you get back to 1, Sunny, give me a thumbs up. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. And go. Okay. Sunny, what did it feel like to you? Give me some labels going from 1 to 10 first.
I felt my heart rate start to pick up, actually, as I started to count and trying to count clearly and not jumble it as you gave instructions to, but clearly, concisely, with speed. And so I felt myself focusing on that, but I could feel my heart rate spike a little bit until I got to that place.
And then what did it feel like going from 10 back to 1?
Immediately, I felt my heart rate lowering, but almost my blood pressure lowering. So you kind of start to feel this slowing down effect, not rushed, not hurried, but slow, calculated, and descending down.
Okay. So what if I told you, well, actually, let me ask you this. How long did it take you to do that?
20 seconds?
Okay. 20 seconds at the most, right?
Yeah.
What if I told you that what you just did in 20 seconds is the cognitive equivalence, not physical, but the cognitive equivalence of anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes of traditional yoga or meditation or mindfulness activity? So when you said I was slowing down, remember I said 10 hertz is slow. It's slow.
Mm-hmm.
People say I feel more relaxed. People say when I was going up, I was agitated. So if you did that, all of us can make 20 seconds before we go on stage. I cannot go do 20 minutes of yoga right before I go on stage. I got to change clothes. I cannot go for a walk. I cannot cook my favorite meal before I go on stage or before I go present or before I take a quiz or before I shoot a free throw or coming at a timeout. You see what I mean now? So I can tell you that with confidence about, the effect of it because we've measured them. And so you basically by intentionally spiking your brain, it was a false flag, and then bringing it down extremely slowly, you lowered the frequency because in a normal threat situation, you wouldn't do that. You'd be running nonstop. Your heart rate would be high. So you've tricked your brain that I'm not in real danger. A lion is not coming to eat me right now. Okay? So I teach athletes and I teach executives and I teach leaders. I teach kids who have ADD and struggle with taking an exam or have performance anxiety to do the 10-10. And that is just one of dozens and dozens, over 300 actually, of these neurohacks. The longest one is 30 seconds. Most of them are 10 seconds. And so asking yourself that all I need to do is to recognize a moment where I want to be my best when I've spiked. And in that moment, I want to do a neurohack to spike myself down. And that will just give me more access to my inventory, and it'll amplify my sensory input. And I get asked oftentimes, well, how long will it last? That's the wrong question, because the brain only needs a few seconds to access whatever it needs to access. And then, so we need to change about how we think about optimism and happiness and peaceful. It's not a constant state because those are neurochemicals, but it is a cognitive state. It's I'm amplifying my access to all the relevant information that I already have. And so when I do the best, when I bring out my best version in moments that matter, man, think of how much better dinner is that night. Think of how many people you want to tell about how good your day was. And then you have this contagion effect. Well, somebody else heard it, now they feel good because they're seeing a smile in your face. They're seeing a sense of optimism. They're seeing your eyes big, and now you're paying attention to them like, oh, mom had a great day. And when you don't do your best in moments that matter, now you're frowning. Now your kid's talking to you. The sensory input, the auditory stimulation is there, but you don't hear them because you're still processing something that didn't go very well earlier in the day. Would you like to do another neurohack?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, take your hands together like so, all right? Now don't start doing this until I say go very loudly, okay? But your left hand should not move. Your left hand is attached to your heart, which is on your left side. So left hand will not move. So don't start until I say go. I want you to imagine that your left hand is a mountain and that the fingers on your right hand are going to climb this mountain. So we're going to do 6 of them. 3 of them, I'm going to climb my left hand mountain very quickly. So 3 times very quickly. And then the last 3 times, I'm going to climb the mountain very slowly. As you're climbing the last 3, feel the fingertips of your right hand. Feel the hand on your left hand. Right? So 3 fast and then 3 very slow. Ready? Go. Okay. When you went up 3 times fast, what did that feel like?
Again, similar response of there's a physicality to it where you feel this rushed, both sense of like mental and physical of hurry, get there. And so there's that, again, that spike in heart rate, minimal attention because you're just going fast.
And then what do you feel like when you did the 3 times that you went slow?
Versus slowing down, again, you get clearer, slower, more calculated. I could feel the sensation of both the receiving and the giving of that energy.
And how long did it take you to do that?
Again, maybe 10 seconds.
Okay. And how often do you have your hands on you?
24 hours a day.
There you go. And how often are you able to count to 10 fast and 10 slow? Do you need equipment? Do you need a yoga mat? Do you need a room? Do you have to be somewhere? Do you have to buy something? No.
No, and you can actually do it in the middle of a situation where
absolutely
you need that pause, that slowing down, and no one has to know about it.
Exactly. I do it with my hands underneath the desk when I'm on Zoom calls. I have kids do it when they're taking their SATs or their exams, and they can do the 10-10. So those are just 2 of hundreds of these neurohacks that we have discovered. They're not intended to replace our other wellness activities like yoga, like meditation, like mindfulness, like working out, like cooking, like listening to music, like dancing, like reading a book. Those are all good things to do, but you can't do those in 10 seconds. You cannot do them when you spike, right? So we live in a world where our spikes are happening during the course of the day. So as human beings, we need a new set of skills based on our understanding of the human brain, how to get to 10 hertz. And like I said, and I talk about this extensively in my book, Life Explained, Chasing 10 Hertz. That's the subtitle of the book, Chasing 10 Hertz. Now you know what that means.
Yes.
But I feel like all of us are chasing 10 hertz. We all want that. Now we've used all kinds of cliches and traditional methods because we didn't understand how the brain works. We now understand how the brain works. It's not a mystery. Think of how simple how simple of a ask it is of self. That no matter what happens to us in our entire life, forever, no matter what challenge we face, the first thing I need to do is to get my brain to 10. I don't have to solve the problem because a brain at 10 hertz will think of more ideas. It'll access more inventory. It won't make the challenge go away. It'll make your ability to address it significantly better. And the data, the hard data, this is not a philosophy. The hard data proves that. Our ability to learn is up 20 to 40%. Our access to our memory is up 30, 40%. Like these are studies from DARPA, from the military, from neuroscientists around the world. So, Sunny, we've reached a point in our human experience where we understand the human experience better. What I'm trying to teach everybody is that the one thing that we use all the time for everything, forever, is the human brain. We must understand it better. We must make an effort for ourselves, for our children, for the people that work for us to, again, master it. And it isn't this mystery anymore. It really isn't. I wish it were, but it's not a mystery. Get to 10 hertz and magic will happen.
I love that. I love you really brought a lot of simplification to it. And I'm not sure that I was fully understanding this even at the beginning. And so I love just the little exercises that you pulled me into because people get to do this along with us. You could be driving in your car, you could be sitting in your office at home or winding down at night and be doing these exercises to say, I feel the difference. Because I think once we actually do the act of some of these things and you're aware of what's happening in the first exercise versus what's happening in the second exercise, I think then you can take that into those moments too, where you say, okay, I just did this. I go into maybe a situation in a board meeting, whatever, a conflict of, I now can tap into that to say, let me spike myself down to this place where I'm clear, where my heart rate is regulated. I'm not feeling this panic inside and I'm not fearing the worst.
Correct. Yeah. And again, I talk about this extensively in my book. There are many more of those neuro hacks that you can learn. There's even an app out there called Neuro 580. You can buy it. It's like $8 a month or something. And there are probably 30 or 40 neuro hacks there. You only need to learn them one time. Like I promise you, you will never forget 10-10 and you'll never forget mountain climbers.
Yeah.
And I promise
absolutely.
you'll probably go and teach everyone that you know what you just learned here. So that's the beauty of it.
Yes.
I mean, once you learn it, this is not a subscription. Like it's yours now.
Right. Yeah. You can put that under being a lived experience that you can tap into again. Well, our hour has already flown by. I wish I had hours more to dive into all of your experience. There's always a question I ask at the end of the podcast, and that is, of all of your lived experiences, the athletes you've worked with, the experiences you've had, and it were your last day on earth, and you could only impart one piece of wisdom or guidance to the world, what would that be?
That it only takes a few seconds to be the best version of ourselves.
Perfectly aligned. Perfectly aligned. Dr. Izzy, I'm going to put this in the show notes, but please share, where can everybody find out more about you, get your books, get access?
Yeah. So my website is drizzyjustice.com. All my books are there. There is an app out there called Neuro 580, Neuro 580. You can download it. I think it's $8 a month. And like I said, you can cancel it after a couple of months. But a lot of these neuro hacks out there. I've done a lot of podcasts. If you go to YouTube under Neuro 580, there's so much information there around sleep, around kindness. There's neuroscience around kindness, how kindness is the ultimate neurohack, by the way. Not gratitude, but kindness. Very, very, very different. We have demonstrated that acts of kindness are actually a gift to self. Like when we do something kind for other people, the spike down is off the charts for ourselves, not just for the other person. And so we think of kindness often as a gift to somebody else. In reality, it's the ultimate, self-care. So it's an unbelievable design, but there's so much information out there. I've been doing this a long time, coming on 4 decades. I'm an old man now. But thank you so much, Sunny, for having me. And I hope that everybody understands 10 hertz now, and they have made their understanding of their human experience a lot simpler.
Love it. Thank you for sharing all of your experiences and imparting that onto the rest of us. I think us getting closer to the knowledge base of understanding that we have more control over it than we thought we did initially uh, allows us to show up as our very best selves, therefore, right, evoking greatness.
Thank you.
If today's episode challenged you, moved you, or lit a fire in your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's ready to rise in their leadership, their business, and their life. And if you haven't already, I'd be so grateful if you took 30 seconds to rate and review the podcast. It's one of the most powerful ways to support the show and help us reach more bold leaders like you. Because this isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. We're not here to play small. We're here to lead loud and elevate how we think, lead, and execute, one bold and unapologetic step at a time. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and make moves that make mediocre uncomfortable.